She's our law correspondent from the offices of Berkman and Hudak in Carmel, New York. Liz Hudak joins us. Hey, Liz.
Hey, Liz.
Hey, good morning, guys. How are you?
We're doing good. We're doing good.
Good. Listen, I know you're going to be talking about Cosby and Led Zeppelin, but I can't resist making a comment about the new law in New York City regarding the single occupancy bathrooms.
Yeah.
I just, in my experience, if I'm a woman, I'm the 10th woman in line, and there's no women, no men in the men's room. Believe you me, I'm going to be going in that men's room if the sign says men, unicorns, or anything else. So I just, it's like, my thought is, what's going to happen? They're going to have the urinal police go after me?
Right.
Here they come, take me out. I mean, I just think the whole thing is kind of grandstanding, but neither here nor there.
There she goes. She's going rogue on us. All right, Liz, I've been trying to update myself on what might actually be happening with this Bill Cosby thing, and it's so confusing, and the reason for that is because there's all these other lawsuits other than the criminal one. There's a defamation case that was the woman just pulled out of it. She just wanted to get people's attention that this guy was, how did she phrase it? She called him a monster, this Christina Rulli. How many cases does he have going on right now?
Well, right now, the most important case is the criminal case that's pending in Montgomery County in Pennsylvania. Mm-hmm. But Gloria Allred, the famous attorney to many, many women, mm-hmm. She's representing more than 30 clients who have accused him of these, in your words, Lou, before, heinous crimes. Mm-hmm. I mean, bottom line is there's one very important one going on right now, a plaintiff named Judy Heff, who's represented by Allred. So right now, the difficulty in all these cases is that the statute of limitations has run on civil lawsuits. So the most damage is probably going to be done by these women testifying in the criminal trial.
Right.
They're going to be testifying as to what happened to them, or let's say what allegedly occurred to them. And they're using that in the criminal trial as the basis for saying he engaged in a pattern, which will then establish that he did indeed sexually abuse Andrea Constant, who's the victim or the alleged victim in the criminal case. So he's being arraigned on July 20th. The judge in Montgomery, Pennsylvania, decided that they had enough evidence to arraign him, even though it was hearsay. What they did is they read this woman's report that she had gave to a police officer into the testimony. So Cosby's attorneys are, oh my God, it's never going to happen. 14 years ago, never had this ever happen. But that's really the worst case for him. The civil suits, quite frankly, right now the one with Heff sounds pretty good and pretty intimidating, but that's civil. So what would happen is he'd lose assets if indeed the woman acquired a judgment against them. That's why, my thought is I don't know what Camille's doing, but, my sense would be, just based on the outrageous allegations in and of themselves, and then facing the possibility of a loss of assets, I'd probably be thinking the big D,
Yeah, sure. Let me go back to the criminal thing just for a second.
Yeah.
I want to see if I understand this correctly. So some of the women who have made allegations against him, the statute of limitations has run out, so they cannot take him to criminal court, but they can testify in the one criminal case that he has.
Correct. So they can't go against him criminally or civilly. However, what the prosecution intends to do is to have these women come to the witness stand and testify as to their alleged experiences with him, and then show a pattern, mm-hmm. that he engaged in this pattern of sexual abuse, which would then invalidate the claims of the victim in this case, who is this Andrea Constant, who was a basketball player at Temple, and alleging, basically that she was sexually abused by him in his Pennsylvania home, that he drugged her, and, quite frankly, the testimony of the transcripts indicate that he did indeed have relations with her of a nature. However, he was saying it's consensual. So they're going to use those 10 witnesses, and that is going to be incredible testimony.
I got to imagine that the process for selecting the 10 women that are going to testify was very important. You can't have somebody up there with, with a questionable background or somebody who you think might be lying.
Oh, absolutely. And with Gloria Allred probably representing the 10 who are going to be selected, you know that they'll be well prepped, and probably to use a terrible cliche, bulletproof.
And you think that he's going down?
I think that Bill Cosby should now be in the process of preparing himself for the 3 hots and a cot stage of his life.
Oh boy.
Yep. So I just not a good sign for him. And once again, all based on what I've read, what I've heard. But yeah, it sounds like it's going to be a very difficult prosecution. However, it sounds like it's going to be a very difficult defense.
We don't have much time for this last one, but Led Zeppelin was just in court defending themselves against a band called Spirit.
Right.
Correct.
What was the song, Ethan, that they were claiming was...
Taurus is the name of the song. It was an instrumental.
By Spirit.
Spirit's instrumental.
But what Zeppelin song was it?
Stairway.
Stairway to Heaven.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
So Zeppelin won the case.
Yeah, well, actually, there were 3 questions presented, and they lost 2 of the questions, but the jury went with them as far as that they didn't, meaning the plaintiffs hadn't proven an essential part of it, which was basically that they... heard Taurus by Spirit and took those lyrics. I mean, from what I've read, it was quite the bizarre trial. You had Jimmy Page doing air guitar throughout most of it. Yes, there was testimony that part of the inspiration for Page was Mary Poppins' Chim Chimmery.
Right.
Can you imagine that one? So make sure you guys play that song for everyone.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that would inspire me to write a song, Stairway to Heaven. But they Plant testified that they were just sitting around a fire. You can imagine what they were doing around a fire.
Uh-huh.
And he had been, ready for this one, toying with a lyrical couplet evocative of the natural, old, almost unspoken culture and mystic scenery of the Welsh countryside.
The hell does that mean?
I mean, like, really? So, well, hey, let me tell you. So then I think that perhaps they might have had other inspiration.
Sure.
I mean, obviously, it's 45 years ago, but, I mean, had to have some other inspiration sitting around a fire in a Welsh mountain cottage in Bron Ura. So he said that, and the first few, there's Jimmy Page strumming his little guitar. and so that's what their testimony was. And all 3 Zeppelin band members testified, and of course the 4th couldn't, unless they did a seance.
Right.
Yeah, John Bonham was, has been deceased since 1980. But apparently, the scene in the courtroom was like precious. I mean, apparently the plaintiff's attorney was like a real actor, and preponderance of the evidence, only 51% you have to find, and tipped himself like a scale. So it really apparently was. I'm waiting for the Lifetime movie.
Yeah, I was gonna say
you're going to see these old rockers sitting there strumming an air guitar and making faces and talking about Mary Poppins and sitting around a fire. And by the way, I don't know if this surprises anyone, but Plant really didn't have a recollection of 45 years ago, even though he went to where the band performed. He once said he did. But he had no recollection. I know that comes as a big shocker. I mean, holy cow, like, really? These guys, I mean, who the heck would ever think that they, wouldn't have a recollection of 45 years ago when they're in a bar or restaurant and, my God. So
all we needed was Dick Van Dyke to show up singing Chim Chim Cheree.
And there's Julie Andrews floating by with the umbrella. Now that's what happened. That's what really happened. Plant and Page saw Julie Andrews floating by in an umbrella. I could instantly identify with that.
Before we let you go, just a real quick question. You being a part of the lawyering community, attorneys, is there any female attorneys who look like Juliana Margulies from The Good Wife?
To tell you the honest to God truth, there are, but you probably would have a better opinion if you grab a male attorney. I can opine on certain male attorneys and what they look like, but
All right, Liz, look forward to having you back on again. Well, I guess the best, most logical time to do it would be right before the Cosby trial gets started up. So we'll set that up with you off the air. Thank you so much.
Anytime, my friends. Thank you so much. Have a great day, everyone.
Thanks, Liz.
Liz Hudak from Berkman and Hudak in Carmel, New York. Awesome.
She's really prepared, we got to learn how to prepare.
She's awesome. She's awesome.
I know.